on the same page, like on a lot of things.
Yeah,
we've discovered. So
hard workers,
hard workers, guys that have their fingers in probably too many things.
Yeah,
but it's the U.S. of A, and you can get what you get, the work you put into it. And he's one of those guys that I appreciate his work ethics, which was the topic of discussion. He's got more than one thing going on, and I can appreciate his where he's going as a young guy. So
what's funny is I went down to the hotel lounge last night. I was in my room, went down to get some coffee, and I go down there, and there's Casey Prisco and Rob Westcott hanging out down there, and they're like, "Hey, what's going on?" And I'm like, "Oh, just kind of getting ready for tomorrow. I got a couple openings still for tomorrow." And they're like, "We got just the guy for you." They're like, "I'm gonna call Nick right now." And he gets off the phone, and Casey basically said the exact same thing that Pete said. Is, Nick's a real good young guy. He's got his hands in a lot of stuff. Just a hard worker and a guy that's just out there doing his thing. So
yeah, that means a lot.
A lot of people are thinking a lot of good things about you, man.
Awesome. Yeah, I raised right. My parents always taught me, like, work hard for what you want in life, and treat everybody equal. No matter where people come, all walks of life, they're family to me. And when we come to these shows, it's great meeting new people, new anglers all across the country.
Yeah. So your company is Soco Baits. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so Soco Baits, we started a company now 7 years ago, and we were more of a panfish company. It started actually with my father. It was more of a hobby, and friends started getting on board saying, like, "Oh, you guys are making baits," and then it turned into a business format, and here we are today in the salmon industry now, and now in the panfish, and going to be getting into the walleye market this next year.
Well, you brought some stuff with you. Let's see what you got.
Yeah, so this is our prime cut. This is our soft plastic. We call it a meat body spoon. This product came about. We were sitting at our desk. It was the middle of winter. Now we're going in the 4th year, and I'm like, all right, we got to come up with a salmon product. And I was like, what are the 2 top selling things that guys love to use? I'm like, spoons and meat. I was like, let's make a meat body spoon, and took some metal in the shop and put some tape on it, poured some plastic, made a cutout, and we brought it to our designer, and out popped the prime cut.
That's interesting. How do you fish this thing?
So the prime cut can be fished in all types of meat heads. Pretty much every meat head in the industry, you can run this bait head in. The nice thing, actually Casey had a lot to do with this product as well, with the tab size. Because when he came to me, he said, "Nick, we got to have a good solid tab, which would be the spine of the bait, so to hold up to short king strikes, and to be working when you get those strikes." So when we're running like our coppers, we set a 500 copper out. A lot of times, if we were running like traditional meat, we take a hit, we got to pull that copper in, check the rig, make sure it's running good, make sure the bait's running smooth. The way the prime cut's designed, we use a thicker tab, big body tab, to where when you take a short strike, most of the time we'll reclip it, let it sit there. 5 to 10 minutes later, boom, we get a secondary follow-up hit, and that's the one that usually gets pinned real good.
So do you have one named after Casey yet?
Yes. Casey actually has 2 named, and they are actually both sold out at the show.
Yeah.
We have the Frisco Destroyer, and we also have the Dirty Goose. The Dirty Goose is a black base with a UV tab and a fisheye on the back end, and the Frisco Destroyer is a silver base tab with UV green dots going down it.
I should have known.
Yeah, I probably could have guessed.
Yeah. Yep. I told him, I was like, send me over some patterns, and those are the patterns. So I was like, all right, we're gonna run them, and they catch fish from here all the way out. Guys run them in Michigan and all the Great Lakes, having great success on them.
Well, I have an affinity for panfish. There's something about catching the biggest small fish in the lake. How do you become a panfish guy and then get it into trout and salmon? So the trout and salmon, I got into drift boat fishing on salmon Oswego River. I had a boat built out in Idaho for the Oswego River, and that's kind of what got me into the salmon industry in Lake Ontario. One day I took my drift boat out, and I was right in with the big boats. Out about 2 miles, I started off with 2 dipsy rods on mounts that I probably had duct taped to the side of the boat. Right.
And we went out, and I caught a big king out on my own, and from then on, I was like addicted. It started just on that one trip heading out with the big boats in my small boat, and now I run a Crestliner 2250 Authority, and I do about roughly 25 to 30 trips on Ontario each season, and a lot of walleye fishing and Finger Lakes fishing now. So that's what kind of got me into the market of the salmon industry, and then this kind of meant to be.
Yeah,
that's how I look at it.
Tell me about that. Captain Nick Sokolowski, what is your charter called?
My charter is Soco Outdoor Sport Fishing. I'm based on Oneida Lake, so I do a lot of walleye and perch on Oneida, but I also travel to Oswego Harbor. That's my home port that I go out of. And in the springtime, I'm pretty much on Cayuga Lake, jig fishing lake trout, and running for browns and rainbows out there as well.
Is it true that you turned Captain Casey on to those lake trout, Cayuga?
Yes. Yeah.
You did, huh?
And I
he can't take credit for that?
I'll give him some credit on the rigs he runs and how he fishes. I learn a lot from him as well.
I'm still scared of him, I think.
Yes.
A little bit. Little bit.
He's holding back now.
Right.
But I will say Casey came out with me last year, actually. It was I think it was March 10th or March 11th. I call him up. I was like, hey, we got a little break in weather. I was like, you want to go out and try jigging some Lakers? He's like, I'll go. It only lasted about 45 minutes, and then eggs and bacon and hot coffee sounded way better in a 5-degree wind chill. So, but he got hooked on it then, and he helped me out. He had a couple groups last season that he brought down to fish on my boat. And Casey, he's always been up front with me, helping me out, and anything I've needed, he's been there to help me out. So
you guys he's been jigging those Lakers out already, right? This month.
Oh yeah, we started on February 4th.
Is that common to be out this early?
No, the past 4 seasons, I think March 11th to March 15th was our
lake, right?
it was our earliest. But I mean, you get 60-degree temps in early February.
It's impressive to go lake trout fishing. He said he was getting them 186 down. And pulling them. And
I was just out
actually
before I got to the show.
It's fun actually.
And and I get a lot of guys that ask about like the lake trout. I'm like, you got to do it. And they're like, nah, we troll them on Lake Ontario. They're just like, they're kind of bycatch for us. I'm like, you haven't jigged them on a medium light rod and like walleye gear. Basically, we're using 10-pound test, 12-pound leader. I mean, 7-foot rods, and you're fishing 180 foot on a 10-pound lake trout.
Yeah,
they're overpowering you every time.
They're fun to catch that way. I've tangled with them myself. Like spinning gear.
Yep.
And they're like,
I mean, they pull. I mean,
it's a great fight.
And Cayuga Lake is a phenomenal fishery. The fishing is, I would say, out of all the Finger Lakes, by far the best, especially the size and quality of fish that are out there. And we see it's not uncommon in the springtime, April, I call it the hot zone, to get 80, 90 bites in the morning with guys on the boat. And that's triples, quads. I mean, it's a blast, and sore arms by the end of those trips.
That's something, you guys have this Lake Ontario fishery that's really diverse, but in our neck of the woods in Lake Superior, going out and vertical jigging lake trout is like, it's something that they do a lot out there.
Right.
It's something that's pretty commonplace. They're not going to go out and do a Wilson Harbor type of trip where you're going to go out and hang a whole bunch of salmon. Like, it's a lake trout fishery. We do have the salmon are getting better out there, but it's a lake trout fishery, and a lot of guys will go out and do it the way you're talking about because it's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And if people are really, want to see what this is about, Casey did some lives. So just go to Dirty Goose Sport Fishing Facebook page. He did some Facebook lives and showed his electronics, and that's the cool thing. You're dropping down. It looks a lot like ice fishing.
It is.
You're dropping that jig down, and you just see those marks come up.
Yeah. And that's the thing, as like Casey and myself, like watching those units, like we're trying to figure out whose line is who, because when you're down 180 feet and you got 4 anglers with jigs on,
right?
There's times where you have so many fish on the screen, you just tell everybody, just burn them to the surface. It's like, because I have no clue where everybody is. So you got to really be on your electronics, knowing, okay, Pete, you got to stop reeling. All right, Chris, start reeling a little bit. All right, Chris, you got a fish coming up here. So it's a lot sticking with a unit. And you can do it without a unit. I mean, there's a lot of fish. fishing blind, like guys that don't have the units to read down that deep like with their jigs. It's not impossible. It's just
Easier.
Makes it a lot easier having a unit.
You're using big stuff. Tell me about the jigs you're using for that.
Yeah, so the jigs, we're using a 1 ounce ball head, 5/0 hook, nice stout hook, because these Lakers, when they get them up in their jawbone and stuff, they pry out some chintzy hooks. So you definitely want to have a good solid jig with them pulling on it, and pairing that up with a 4 to 5 inch swim bait. I would say on Cayuga Lake, top colors, chartreuse white. Sunny days, black and purples are really hot. And the bait forage out there is more of the alewives, like saw bellies and stuff. So silver based fish, but Lakers with colors and stuff. They like the pinks and whites and chartreuses, but naturals are also really, really hot when we're around the bait balls.
Lake Superior, it's all white.
Yeah.
White. Everybody's using white out there.
Yeah, and we usually start off, if I got 4 guys in the boat, I'll have a different color in each hand. Because some days, they're just doing the opposite of what they would typically do on a sunny day. To where sunny days, the black and purples out on Cayuga just seem to kill it throughout the morning. But some days they just want white, just like your guys, like fishery out there.
Yeah. So you're on the east end down there. Tell me about your walleye fishing down in those lakes as well. And we have Pete on, and we have a lot of these other guys coming in talking Lake Erie walleyes. So how are you?
Yeah, so myself, I mainly target walleyes on Oneida. I haven't really got into the Lake Ontario, like Chameau, Henderson, Harbor up north in the Eastern Basin yet. This year, I'm going to definitely put a little more time in up there. I do more ice fishing on Chameau and Henderson than I do open water fishing. So I would say Oneida is like the key lake that I always target, and that's a shallow fishery. We're pretty much average 20 to 30 foot depths on Oneida Lake, jigging with blade baits like 1/2 ounce blades, casting swim baits like Kitech swim baits in the spring and fall, and then it's a great trolling bite in the summer months as well.
How do you troll with them? Inline boards mostly?
Yeah, you got guys that are trolling inline boards. And then I'm a huge bottom bounce fisherman, so we're running typically 2 to 3 ounce bottom bouncers with about a 4 foot leader with our worm harness rigs. The fishery the past couple of years has been amazing, just because I think of the bad ice seasons we've been having. Yeah. Guys can't get out to these spots to hammer on these walleyes for 2 months straight. We went out on Oneida. I live on the South Shore. I only made it out twice this year on Oneida. And both times we have phenomenal walleye fishing. But then we couldn't get back out there. It's just the ice 50 degrees rolled in and we had to stay off. So
what's a big walleye on Oneida and what's an average walleye on Oneida?
A big walleye on Oneida, you're going to be in the 24 to 25 inch range. Okay. Pushing that 5 pounds, 4.5, 5 pound fish. Average, you're going to see 17 to 19 inch. We have a big class of young, like pin walleyes in the deeper section on the east end. In the western basin of Oneida, we find better quality fish that 18 to 22 inches in the grass or off those first ledges leading towards the east end.
Got a question coming in here from Scott Garbs. I think he's referring to the Laker jigging. He says, do you use stinger hooks with your jig heads?
So I don't use stinger hooks. I feel with the way these lake trout are hitting on the jig up, they're definitely wanting to swallow the baits at times, and we try to preserve the fishery that we have. So I would rather lose a lake trout on a jig with a single hook than have a stinger hook buried in the throat or in the gill plate. So that's the only reason why I don't use stinger hooks. And when the fishing, like springtime, you're getting so many bites throughout the morning. It's like if you lose a fish or if you lose 10 fish, you're going to hook up on another 20. So that's why I stick with just a single hook presentation, just to preserve these old dinosaur fish that we have and not getting those extra hooks in the gills.
Yeah. When you've got that bite going too, it's like the more time you spend fiddling and trying to get those hooks out of the mouth, that's time you can't spend fishing. So.
And I will say, when we're jigging these fish and a client will hook up on a fish, they're reeling them for a couple minutes, they're getting them up, and then it falls off. And they're like, oh, and like they're kind of hemming and hawing. I'm like, keep reeling. a lot of the times those fish will come back and hit that jig another 3 or 4 times, and you will hook them again. So when they're jigging up, they'll boom, oh, I just got bit. Like they'll start to drop their baits. Like keep burning it away from them. And we've had fish come up.
Will they follow? Will a hooked fish be followed by multiple?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yep. So you always have to be ready for that follow-up fish. And I've had single fish come from bottom of the lake up to 220 feet to the surface and swipe the bait, pulling it out of the water. So wow. It was that fish came up, and that client, I remember that too. The fish disappeared on the unit because it only marks so far under the boat. And I was like, keep reeling. And he reels as he pulls the swim bait out, whoosh, this big boil hits on the side of the boat. So I was like, that shows right there. The fish came up 220 feet to hit that bait, wow. and he didn't get it, but it was still amazing to see that fish do that.
Good stuff.
Absolutely.
And these are the other thing I would say is, we're out salmon fishing. You got a big mature salmon. It's 3 years old. Yeah. These Lakers, I mean, that you're fishing these lakes, they're 10, 15, 20 years old. So it takes a while to get a lake trout to a good size that you're going to want to take a picture with.
Yeah. And Cayuga definitely has that fishery. I would say the average fish we get is that 6 to 8 pound range, but we do get plenty of 10 to 12 pounders throughout the springtime. And it's nice to see those averages as well.
So you brought these prime cuts to show off here today. What else do you have in your product line? We got about 3 minutes here. So here's some other things.
So what else we got is our new bump boards. We have a 24, a 32-inch bump board, and a 48-inch bump board. We came out with the 48 for the Great Lakes guys because we had the 32s for kind of the walleye industry, mm-hmm. and then the lake trout, the salmon guys, and the muskies and northern pike guys were like, when are you going to come out with a bigger board? So now we have the 48 available at the show and also online. And then our panfish line of products, we have our crazy eyes. So a lot of people know the crazy eyes that are into pan fishing. I don't know how many eyes we've manufactured in the past couple of years, but it's been a lot. And it's always funny guys saying like, I always used to take perch eyes out and fish with them, and now they just use a soft plastic or synthetic perch eye. So that's the other products that we have at the show. And next year we'll have definitely some more walleye gear.
Who came up with the crazy eye idea? How was that originated?
I would give that with me and my dad. Just we put our minds together and we try to figure out the next bait on the product line because I would put us as like innovators. We want to make something that's different in the market. And that I think came about. I'll give my dad credit on the crazy eye because he was shooting plastics one night. And I think a glob of soft plastic landed on the table, and it kind of formed that ball shell. So I was like, I looked at it, I'm like, if we get some epoxy in this, I was like, it'll look like a perch eye. So
yeah, great idea.
Got in the shop and started becoming a mad scientist per se. And
that's how it all started.
Yeah, and then here we go. We got a synthetic perch eye. That's we do well with throughout the spring, like fall, and into the wintertime as well with it. So,
and I know that's a thing that's pretty big around this neck of the woods too, is the perch fishing.
Yeah.
Is that something you do as well?
Yes. Yeah, I do springtime perch on Cayuga Lake and then fall on Oneida Lake. The fall perch fishery on Oneida is another phenomenal bite. Our perch population the past 2 or 3 years has exploded. And, I don't know if it's just from like the gobies entering the system and just the amount of grass we have in our system now, but we've noticed the average size perch in Oneida has gone up, and the walleyes are growing off of that average going up because we got a lot of baby perch coming up and comers that they're feeding on. So we got a great fishery on Oneida, and I can't see it going away anytime soon from what I see each spring and fall.
Yeah, it's something in our neck of the woods of Minnesota people are really excited about. Everybody talks they want to go out and catch jumbo perch.
Yeah.
And I see the pictures that Craig Sleeman puts up on his Instagram, and you're like, now those are jumbo perch.
Yeah. Oneida, we average, I would say 9 to 11 inches on Oneida, but you do get the occasional 14 and a quarter, and some guys get a 15, but you always get those guys at the dock saying they had a pail full of 15s, and I have yet to catch a 15 on Oneida, and I'm out there pretty much every day in the fall. So, not saying it can't be possible, but it's hard to believe that when they say they got a full bucket of 15 inchers.
Yeah, yeah.
That's a fish story.
Just a couple of them would be.
Yeah, just you say one, and that's like if you see a 15-inch perch. I mean, that's
impressive.
It's an impressive perch. Like when I caught 14, I was like, "What is this thing? Like it's a giant." So, but we get some big ones on Cayuga as well. That's got the, I would say, bigger population of like big perch, but it doesn't have, I would say, nearly the numbers what Oneida has on the north end.
Awesome.
So,
well, Nick, really appreciate you coming.
Yeah,
It's
thank
great
you for
to meet
having me
you.
here.
Good luck
Fun talking to you.
Yeah, good luck with the future and everything you got going on. Keep up the hard work.